You're getting 2 for the price of 1 with this video. Here are my 2 favourite drafts going into the season. Right, so starting things off then, we've got the defence of draft number 1. Sam Johnston is the goalkeeper I've gone for. Of all of the 4.5 million keepers in the game, there are obviously quite a few you can pick from. Jason Steele is the only one that really challenges him, in my opinion. But with the signing of Verbruggen as well, if that's how you pronounce the name correctly, I think Brighton have got some competition for this goalkeeper spot. Whereas Crystal Palace, Sam Johnston seems to have nailed that spot down now, above and beyond Vicente Guaita. So he looks to be starting the season, and I think if I go for him, he's just a set and forget for the remainder of the season, really. I think he's going to come up with a good load of clean sheets. You know, Palace looked defensively rejuvenated under Roy Hodgson, and just with the nature of the way they play, I think he's going to get some saves bonus as well. He's looking like a great option, basically. Trent, Gabriel and Estupiñán are my defence. 3 of the most popular defenders, and I think, to be honest, 3 of probably the best defenders in the game at the moment. Trent, 8 million is a lot of money, I'll admit, but just playing in that Liverpool team in midfield, I think he's going to recoup that value in points and more. Gabriel, he's the best defender in the league last season for expected goals, and I'm pretty sure 6 of the first 7 fixtures for Arsenal are against the 6 worst teams for defending set pieces. And all of Gabriel's goals basically came from set pieces last season, so that bodes really well for him getting some attacking returns. Estupiñán, I think, is Brighton's most attacking defender, and he appears to be absolutely nailed in that lineup for them, and they've got great fixtures to open up with. So those 3 positions really pick themselves in this draft. Into the midfield and strike force then, we've got Eze. I'm not going to talk too much about him because I've got a little feature on him just in a second. Bruno Fernandes, I actually think I prefer Bruno to Rashford, but I think they've really underpriced him in the game. You know, he's absolutely nailed in that United team. Never really misses a game. Even when he's injured, he plays for them. He's on penalties, all the set pieces. I think he's a fantastic option. Saka, he played the most minutes of all of the Arsenal midfielders last season. He had the best underlying numbers. I just think he's the best of them all, to be honest. And he's going to be my vice captain in going into game week 1. And Bumo, I think, is my favourite of the 6.5 million midfielders. He's going to be the Brentford talisman in place of Tony. He's going to take the penalties. He also takes some free kicks. And he's looked really good in pre-season too. Rashford, I'm hoping he just continues the form that he did towards the back end of last season. To be completely honest, I'm a little bit afraid of his ownership, which is why I've gone for him. Certainly if Kane leaves Tottenham, I think Son could be a very reasonable replacement for Rashford as well, given the fact that Son will probably take the penalties off Kane too. We'll see how we go with that one. At the moment, I've got Rashford. Gabriel Jesus and Haaland, I think, is the best striking combo you can ask for, really. Gabriel Jesus apparently has better underlying numbers than all of the Arsenal midfielders. He just didn't really seem to convert them into too many goals last season. He did all right by all imaginations, but he just didn't convert all of those chances that he had. I don't think he gets a bit too involved in the build-up play for me, which retracts away from his attacking returns. But he's a proven Premier League goal scorer, and Arsenal have a fantastic set of fixtures to start with. Again, similar to Rashford, there are a couple of alternatives you can go for. I'm liking Nkunku and Jackson of Chelsea, but just with how Chelsea were last season, I think I'm going to wait and see on picking their strikers. And then Haaland up front as my captain. The bench of this team, you've got Areola in goal at 4 million, Baldock and Bell, 2 4 million defenders. I mean, we all know the 4 million defenders that are going to play. You could go for Bayer as well, and I'm pretty sure there's a Luton wing-back that looks like he's going to be starting that comes in at 4 million as well, so you can go for either one of those. And then Semenyo at 4.5 million, I think is the 4.5 million striker at the moment likely to play the most minutes. And this team, 60.2 expected points, according to DraftHound, for game week 1. And as I mentioned, a little feature then on Eze, because he's the player that I've not really spoken about too much on this channel and certainly haven't featured in any of my drafts so far. But the more research I've done into him and the more I've looked at him, the more I'm sort of convinced that he's a good option. He's absolutely nailed to start in that team, even under Roy Hodgson, and they look obviously new and improved under him. Played in all 38 games of last season, and now Zaha has left. He's going to be taking the penalties for Crystal Palace, which I think increases his value even more. They've got a decent set of opening fixtures. Arsenal at home mixed in there, but Crystal Palace at home are a tough team to beat, and I think they might even be able to score against Arsenal, to be honest. And towards the back end of last season, he really seemed to hit his best form. He got 7 attacking returns in the final 9 games of the season, and simply because he's now for 90 minutes on set pieces and penalties, and he's going to get a decent level of open play returns as well. I just think he's a set and forget across the season, really, and gives you a really good option that you just don't have to worry about. On to draft number 2 then, and there are a couple of changes already. I've got Onana in goal. I think you can just about justify the 0.5 million difference between him and Sam Johnson. Obviously, David De Gea, despite not actually playing that well in my opinion, had an absolutely fantastic season in FPL last year. And I don't think Onana's going to be too far away from that, if not score even more points, because I think with the style of play he has, he's going to allow Man United to keep the ball more. And for me, the teams that keep the most clean sheets in the Premier League usually are the ones that keep the ball the most. Chilwell, I've replaced him, replaced Trent, with Chilwell. The 2.5 million saving you get from that, I think, can buy you a lot in this team, as you'll see. And I'll talk a little bit about why I really like Ben Chilwell. Gabriel and Estupiñán, already spoken about those two. You know, two of the best defenders in the game, certainly at that price. Now, I've made one change to the midfield in this draft, and I've gone for Phil Foden. I just really like him, and I think with the sale of Riyad Mahrez as well, that allows him, I think, to get more minutes in that Man City team. And he had a fantastic season in terms of underlying numbers last year. You know, he challenged the likes of the Arsenal midfielders in terms of expected returns per 90, which is one of the stats that I really look for, really, because I'm a little bit of an analytics player myself, and Foden ticked all the boxes for analytics, but what he didn't tick was the box for minutes. But I think with the sale of Mahrez, KDB, he could be fit for the start of the season, maybe not. He'll certainly play a limited number of minutes in my view. I think that opens the door for Foden to come in and do really well. And bar that Newcastle game, Man City have a fantastic opening set of fixtures, and I think he probably is worth the 1 million more than Eze, and obviously with bringing Chilwell in allows me to save that million. I'm going to go for him in this draft, I reckon. Bruno Fernandes, I've already spoken about him, just such a solid option, along with the rest of the midfield really. They're in my previous draft, and I think, yeah, they sort of speak for themselves going in my team. As for the defence, well, on the bench at least, I've gone for Henry, 4.5 million. He's at 0.5 million more. This team actually allows you to do that, and I've still got 0.5 in the bank as well. So potentially you could improve one of these players by, you know, one that's 0.5 million more expensive. Let me know in the comments if you can see anyone that you would upgrade in this draft. But simply, I think the 0.5 million extra going for Henry is worth it above like likes of Baldock or Bell or the Luton wingback or Bayer that I spoke of, purely because he plays for a better team and is going to keep more clean sheets. And I'd be more comfortable having Henry coming off the bench than someone like George Baldock, especially, you know, coming off the bench for the quality of the players that I have in this draft. So yeah, I think he could keep a clean sheet potentially in all those opening 3 fixtures, to be honest. So he's a lovely option to have on that bench. The team does have slightly less expected points than the previous draft, but I think over the coming weeks they'll be very close to one another. And I think just the fact the bench is a bit stronger, if anything does happen to these players, i.e. Foden doesn't get minutes, one of them gets injured, etc., I don't have to rip up my team or make any transfers necessarily. I can just rely on Henry to come off the bench. And a little feature, as I promised then, on Ben Chilwell. Now, I don't really use preseason as a gauge, certainly in terms of the goals and assists that players get. But what preseason does allow you to see is the style of play that teams are going to adopt. And one comment I think you can safely make against Chelsea is Chilwell was getting really far forward in those preseason games, looking really advanced. And I think that bodes well for him getting some attacking returns in the Premier League, basically. Comparing him and Trent as well. Trent, on paper, I think is a better player, and across the season will get more attacking returns. But the opening sort of 7 or 8 fixtures, Chelsea's are by far and away the best in the league. So if you take that 8 fixture sort of period, I think Chilwell and Trent will be very close in terms of points, which for me justifies probably going for Chilwell. You know, he's 2.5 million less than Trent is, which allows you to upgrade your team. I mean, you've seen the draft I've done before, but you could potentially fit in both Salah and Haaland into a draft now if you go for Chilwell over Trent. And as I said, in this team in general, it just allows for upgrades across the team. I can have a slightly better keeper, slightly stronger bench, and upgrade my midfield as well. And I think the point about Chilwell, really, you could either pick him or James. I mean, I wouldn't begrudge you for going James, but I just think for me, Chilwell's far less, or proven to be far less injury prone than Reece James is. So for that reason, I think he's the better pick. All right, and that's the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed that one. A couple of drafts there to sink your teeth into. Let me know what you think of both of them and if there's one that you prefer or any changes you'd make to either of them. As I said, FPL is all about different opinions. So yeah, if you've got a different opinion to me, I'd be interested to hear it in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, please leave me a like rating and subscribe to the Golden Goal channel, which should be just about there. I'll catch you in the next video.